So I want to share my story with you, and hopefully my story can inspire somebody today. So my name is Carl, Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, and from there we ended up moving out to Flatbush, and ended up in East New York, in Starrett City. At a young age, back in the 70s, they have a lot of winter snowstorms in New York, and me and my cousin, we had an appetite. We wanted every color Pumas. And our parents are from the islands, so they was very strict. And my mother told us straight up, if you want, you get one pair of sneakers for the year. If you want more than that, go find yourself a job. So what do? We started shoveling snow during the winter snowstorm, started making some money. When we finally got our first $35, we got home, my hands were frostbitten, and I had the money crumbled up in my fingers, and I was throwing out my fingers, but it was all worth it because I was able to buy these Pumas. And once I got that Pumas and able to buy something on my own, that was just energized me. And I've realized in life that if you want something, just go out there and work for it, and you get whatever you want. So that journey led us to go move into East New York, and my father used to get his clothes made by a tailor. And I used to watch him go to Delancey Street, buy his fabrics, and go back to Brooklyn and, go to his tailor. His tailor used to make his clothes for him. So one day, me and all my friends used to go shopping a lot. A lot of my friends used to hustle. And I had a newspaper route. I used to get up 5:30 in the morning every morning to deliver newspapers so I could get money to buy clothing. And me and my friends used to try to outdress each other all the time. So I thought about my dad's tailor one day. I said, man, if I make an outfit with my dad's tailor, none of these kids will have it. So I made me a baggy jean suit out of linen. And when I wore it around the way, everybody's like, oh, man, that's cool. Where'd you get it from? So as opposed to telling them about my tailor, I started selling outfits to my friends. And that's really like how streetwear got started. I was selling outfits to my friends. And I was mentioned to the class earlier today how I came up with the brand name. This girl made a comment about a jacket that I made. She's like, who made that jacket? And the guy was telling her that I made the jacket. She didn't believe me. So he takes off his jacket. She says, well, how come Carl's name ain't on the jacket then? And that's when it hit me. I need to establish a brand. I need to build a brand. Can I was a question I used to ask myself all the time. Can I be successful? Can I come from the streets of Brooklyn, New York, and build a brand that's going to be international and dress hip-hop? And I knew if I called myself Kani, that every day I have to answer that question, yes, I can. So we moved out to California in '89 to set up shop. We did some research. We found out that Guess and Jabot was making jeans in L.A. We wanted to make the jeans, so we went right to the source. We stayed out in front of the Guess factory and waited for their workers to get off of work. And we asked them, where do you get your jeans at? And they told us. And that's really what got us the insight that we needed to start making jeans. Luckily, one day I bumped into the owner of this company called Cross Colors, which was another black-owned company, but they had financing behind them. And I was telling him that I needed some help to get myself in department stores, and he mentioned to me I could come to his office to meet with him. 2 days later, we met with him. We made a deal within 10 days. We became partners together. In the first year together, we did $89 million in sales, and I was only 22 years old at that time. Since then, we've had footwear deals with a company called Skechers, and we had 15 NBA players wearing my sneakers on the basketball court. We had Derek Fisher, John Wallace from New York Knicks, Derek Fisher, Karl Malone. And we were about to go public in 1995, but I decided not to go that route again because I wanted to keep my company privately held. So today we're distributed in 25 foreign countries. We have 10 stores, flagship stores in Japan, and we're the #1 streetwear brand in Germany and Europe right now. So now we've been doing this brand for 34 years, so we still got a long way to go to accomplish the goals that we want. But my story is legit, it's real, and there's no other fashion brand that could ever say they started streetwear before Carl Kani, because it's not reality. We were the first ones to go out there and do this and break down barriers for a lot of other designers out there who you guys may see around today. So I hope my story is going to inspire someone to see that I'm no different than you guys. I graduated from Canarsie High School. I wasn't a straight A student, nothing like that. The only thing that was separating me from a lot of my friends is my extreme focus on success. Like, every day I think about the same thing. When I go to bed at night, I'm thinking about tomorrow, how I'm gonna be successful. So it's almost like a drug to me. That's what makes me happy. That keeps me content. So like a lot of my friends, as they going out partying, I used to be in the crib thinking about my next move that I want to do. So all that other stuff really mean a lot to me. What meant something to me is building my brand and building my legacy. So that's a short version of my story. So you guys can open it up if y'all got questions.
Well, let's get into this conversation. And I don't want this to go over your head. I think I heard you say that when you were 22 years old, your very first year, you all grossed 89 million.
Yeah.
Was that 89 million?
Yes.
From the projects?
Yes.
It's 89 million.
Yes.
Your first year.
Yes.
How did you avoid complacency to achieve such tremendous success right out the gate? Mm-hmm. We hear the story over and over in our community where athletes, entertainers, they get their first check, they get their first level of finance, never had anything like this, and it is a calamity. Yeah. It's a disaster waiting to happen. Right. So for you to be so young, what was your thinking and your orientation to how to leverage that as opposed to become complacent?
Yeah, to me, to be able to think like that, you gotta fear something. And I feared failing. I feared going back to New York and going back to the projects and losing it all. So that alone made me get up hungry every morning not to lose that. And the money at that point really didn't mean a lot to me. It's all about success and building up people who came with me. So when I came up, I hired a lot of my friends to work within the company. You know what I'm saying? So now I had other standards I had to live for, other things to be successful for. So like my whole thing was longevity in this business and staying extremely, extremely focused. And once I got a taste of success, I didn't want to lose it anymore. So all that didn't mean nothing to me.
What about the people around you? Because you have this extreme focus, but then the friends, the family, they count in your pockets.
Yeah.
And they have their own ambitions and ideas for what your success might mean for them. How did you negotiate that at such a young age?
Well, to me, I just look at things like this. Like, everybody's in your life for a moment. And if somebody's bringing you good energy, I accept it. And if they're not, then it's just time for them. You just write them off for a second. Let's put them on a personal timeout. And there's no options when it comes to that. That's just the way it is. And there's no negotiating with that. If they fall in line, everything's good, then we're good. If not, then, because this is my journey. You know what I'm saying? It's my journey. So you got to fall in line with my journey. It's not about me pleasing you. That way, if that's the case, then you should go follow your own journey. Don't be part of this, what I'm doing right now. And certain things, there's no negotiating. And then, because those things take up your mental capacity. If you mess around with people who don't understand your vision, it's not going along where you're going. And that's why a lot of companies do fail. You know what I'm saying? Because they don't understand what it takes to really be successful a long period of time. I look at certain white companies. I wonder why are they successful, right? And I start to understand why, because they don't never give up. They're always on top, and when they're on top, they even go harder in the paint now. You know what I'm saying? It takes a little success. That's why you got to work twice as much harder now at this point. And it's not even work anymore. Now you just got to do it for the enjoyment of just running a business.
I want to touch on your response to setbacks. We have a room full of young entrepreneurs coming of age, and many of us envision success as a straight line path. Yeah. It's not that.
No, it's definitely not that.
And so when we get the setbacks, and we get repeated setbacks, and not minor, but serious major setbacks, from what I've understood about your story, you left Brooklyn and went to LA early in the process with your homeboy AZ. Yeah. And as you were out there, you all set up shop near where Nipsey Hussle's store later would be established. And all of your merchandise, everything you had, all your materials was stolen. Yep. Y'all were robbed. Gunpoint.
Yeah.
That was a huge setback.
Yes.
You've already taken the risk. You bet on yourself. You doubled down. You out of town. You in LA. Yeah. What was your thought process to navigate that setback, to not let it stop you?
Yeah, so, when this situation happened, we were actually living in the store at the time because we couldn't afford an apartment. So we were living in a sauna and sleeping in the sauna on top of fabric in the store. So, coming from Brooklyn, man, we know how to navigate through issues. So we realized, okay, this spot on Crenshaw is hot right now. We can't stay here. We knew that we had to move from that spot. So what we did was we raised some money and we put an ad into Right On magazine, which is the first hip-hop publication before Vibe and Source, right? We put an ad in there, and now we decided we're going to start doing a mail order now. Forget having a retail store. So we got an apartment in Hollywood and started living in an apartment, shipping the stuff out the apartment, and having this ad out there enabled kids to be able to contact us now directly to buy our goods, so we didn't have to have the storefront anymore. So it's almost like you got to adjust to things that happened. It's all about adjusting. We didn't ask for the store to get robbed. We didn't know what was going to happen, but it did. And we knew staying there wouldn't be safe anymore. So we had to just make an adjustment to keep the machine moving. We wasn't going to stop. We just had to find another way to do it so we could be safe and run a business at the same time.
That's powerful. It's powerful, this idea of not letting anything stop
Find
you.
a way. The whole key is find a way. There always is an answer. You just got to find a way. And to me, it's like when I'm trying to find an answer, only thing I'm thinking about is figuring this thing out. That's it. Nothing else. I'm going to figure this out no matter what.
I'm sure your upbringing in Brooklyn had a lot to do with that, and your family. And so we take it back to your early days in Brooklyn. It's a very different environment than the Brooklyn that they know. And so I'm wondering if you can just describe the culture. This is the 50-year anniversary of hip hop. Your streetwear brand, the first ever streetwear brand, is an expression of hip hop in terms of its origin, its inception. So what was the Brooklyn of your era like that helped to give birth to your style, your aesthetic, and ultimately what became Karl Kani?
Well, I mean, I don't know how tough it is in Brooklyn still now. When we grew up, it was pretty tough back then, though. You know, it was a lot of stick-up kids. You know, even when we got our money to go shopping, the journey was getting back home without getting robbed on the train. You know what I'm saying? So, like, we had to navigate through that. And, you know, Brooklyn just builds tough skin on you know what I'm saying? And it's like, Brooklyn's always been a way, like, if a dude wants something from you, he's going to take it. You know what I'm saying? So we have that same attitude in business. You know, we just apply those same ethics we have in business. Like, we ain't taking no shorts. We want to get what we want. And when I say these things, I'm not saying in no violent way, none of that. It's all mental. Like, I'm going to outwill you. If I want something, I'm going to find out how to get it. Like, when we wanted to make jeans, we did our research. We found out that Guess had a factory in L.A., and we found out Jabot had a factory in L.A. So we knew the answer we had is in that factory. Somebody in that factory had the answer, knew where we could get those jeans fabric from and get the washes done. That's what we need. We stood outside that factory every day for like 2 weeks, speaking to different workers that came out of there. We was like, trabajo máquina, mucho dinero. I was calling my mother on the phone, Mom, how do you say this in Spanish? She's telling me how to talk to the people in Spanish. Finally, one guy named Juan was like, so you guys got some money and you got a sewing machine? What's up? He's like, yo, man, you speak English? He said, yeah. I was like, yo, how do we get we need to find out how to get some jeans made and some patterns. We didn't know nothing. We didn't know how to make no patterns. We didn't know how to make no jeans. But I knew what I wanted. I just need to find people to help me fill in those blanks, right? So finally we met a dude. His wife was a pattern maker, and his aunt was a sewer. So they was our first people that started work with us to kind of get our line developed. But again, you have to have that will first, unless those things wouldn't happen.
You spoke about your mother, and that that you have that Costa Rican and Panamanian heritage. So I was just curious about what kind of influence and effect specifically in your creativity and in your mindset, just how you move through the world, what kind of effect that Costa Rican and Panamanian heritage has.
Yeah, so basically my parents just had very, very hard work ethics. My mother worked at Brooklyn Jewish Hospital for like 20-something years. My dad came to the United States. He started a typesetting company, and he named it after me and my sister. It was called Carl Kani Composition Service at 227 Canal Street. So he had a lot of banker clients and stuff like that. So I just saw a lot of hard work and dedication for them. My mother getting up every morning in the winter, going to work, being a nurse, and able to put me and my sister into Catholic school, which made a big difference in my life as well too. I saw a difference between myself and a lot of my friends that went to the straight public schools. So being in a Catholic school, getting a certain level of education, being around different types of kids, different nationalities, helped us to navigate through life as well.
Speaking about schooling, I'm wondering, what were some of your early experiences with your teachers? I'm really keying in on, in what ways do you feel like your school experience prepared you or didn't prepare you to live as an entrepreneur?
To be honest with you, man, when we grew up, we went to Catholic school. Nuns are very strict back then. I mean, they used to actually smack you in your face if you cursed and then get away with that. When we was coming up in Brooklyn, Canarsie, Holy Family, on the Flatlands on Rockaway Parkway. That's where we went. So our school was pretty strict though, man. But I don't know so much how. Oh, what did help me though, I was in a co-op program in high school, where you go to school a week and you work a week. So I actually worked right at 65 Court Street, the Board of Education. I was working there, delivering checks to the security guards and the teachers. But it enabled me to kind of get myself into the workforce mentality, and it made me want to go work harder. So what I used to do was, I used to leave my high school and go to the city, and I became a messenger, delivering packages after school every day just to get money, because I had I had a clothing addiction that I had to feed. You know what I'm saying? I need money to buy clothing, and that's what like kind of inspired me to keep going that route.
You actually hit on where my next question was going. Where did you shop?
Oh, back in the day?
Yeah.
So, Delancey Street was a spot. Orchard Street. Down Delancey. Orchard was like the main spot where everybody shopped at back then to get our goods. We weren't shopping at department stores or anything like that. Everything was really Delancey Street was the main spot. And the spot called S&A off of Broadway and Bed-Stuy also.
No Abbey Square.
Nah, not really. No, not really. I didn't even shop there too much.
So there's a long list of folks that you have had wear your clothing, mostly without endorsement, which was one of the things that was so impressive to me. So I'm gonna go through some of these names. I know I'm not gonna cover all of them, but there's one in particular I want to ask you about. Diddy, Nas, Tupac, Aaliyah, Snoop Dogg, Biggie, Jay-Z, Michael Jordan, Shaq, YG, Pop Smoke, Quavo, Takeoff, PNB Rock, Tiana Taylor, Ariana Grande. Even did a collaboration with Stranger Things. Y'all watch Stranger Things on Netflix? Y'all seen that? They got a whole Karl Kani collection going on I didn't know about. And the list goes on and on. But there's one name in particular when I came across it, I'm like, how did this happen? What's the story behind Michael Jackson wearing Karl Kani?
Yeah. So basically the Michael Jackson thing came about through Quincy Jones' daughter, Kadada Jones. She was a stylist, and you know Quincy Jones worked with Michael Jackson. And this is when Michael Jackson, he wanted to become more street. So they're like, okay, Michael, you want to come street, there's only one brand you need to wear, it's called Kani. So they influenced Michael Jackson to do a shoot for Vibe magazine, and he threw on Karl Kani, and he loved it. Michael was like, you know, first time he's ever sagging out, chilling like that. So I think that was really fun. And that was one of the most iconic, that's somebody, like, I grew up listening to Michael Jackson's music. So to have him wear my clothing, which I never thought in a million years Michael Jackson would be wearing my clothing, and it happened, and we definitely cherish that moment for sure.
Did you get the opportunity to meet him and sit down?
No, I never met Michael Jackson in person. I wasn't there to shoot. I met his other family members though. I never met him in person though. Yeah.
You mentioned this experience with the guest store, and like you're known for your jeans, like the clothing we have on now, Karl Kani jeans. And the fact that you didn't have the slightest clue on how to get started with denim is so phenomenal. Like, we're here at our startup incubator that we refer to as a school to translate to other people. As we think about learning, like how you learn new things, how you teach yourself, it's something that we want to instill in the young people all around us right now. Like, what is your process to learn, to acquire new information?
Yes. So basically, to me, it's like, it all starts with that gift that I told you about earlier today, and I shared in one of the classes today. Somebody asked me, what is the greatest gift in life? And somebody was to ask me that question, I would say thought. You know, and thought is free, right? So somebody had to think about how to fly a plane, to drive a car, for electricity, to build a skyscraper, to build a pyramid. Somebody thought about those things. So to me, that is the greatest gift that I have. So my thing is burning a desire to get anything that you want out of life. And I totally am a firm believer in the power of manifestation. I totally firmly believe that you could talk good things into existence the same way you could talk bad things into existence, right? And the most important thing is that a lot of times people want instant gratification. They be like, man, well, I've been thinking about this thing for 2 months straight and nothing's happened yet. Da-da-da. It ain't meant for you. You know what I'm saying? Because you're already thinking wrong already. You gotta do it without thought and watch things start to propel for you without even thinking about it. And when things get a little bit tougher for you, that's when you work a little bit more harder. You turn the pressure up. Like, it's almost you fighting against a certain energy. You gotta outwill this energy to get things that you want out of life. And I promise you, things will change. But you cannot think or put a time period on when this is gonna happen. It will happen, but you just gotta be in the games and be in the game to win. And I look at seasons, and I look at my career, and I look at each year like an NBA season, right? So each year, let's say at the end of 12 months, we didn't really have the success that we wanted. It's okay, it's fine. All you gotta do is regroup, make a couple changes, put a couple different team members, another game plan, and you go for the championship again next year. And every day you fight for that championship is success. You gotta keep the ball rolling down, keep the ball pushing down the road.
Are there books or podcasts or folks that you look up to, that you build with to increase your knowledge, to expand and scale your brand?
You know, there's only one book that I've read that I would tell anybody. I'm not really a big book reader. I'm more of an analyzer and I'm more a straight, focused person. Like, you know, I'm not gonna let anyone outthink me. But there's one book called Ask and It Is Given by Jesse and Esther Hicks. It just talks about the power of manifestation. It talks about the power of like surrounding yourself with people that has great energy and thought and stuff like that. And I find that sometimes the road to the top can be perceived to be kind of lonely because not everyone around you is going to get your journey or get your gift or understand where you're going. And the last thing you want to do is have people around you second doubting your thoughts, because that will make you start to put other thoughts of, you know, in your mind that you don't need to have. So limit your space of people, limit it to the point where you just surround yourself with people who believes in your journey 100%. And if they don't, find a way to just separate yourself from that, because your journey has to be more important than everything else in your life. You know what I mean? And again, I'm sharing how I perceive things. It may not work for everyone. Some people like, nah, bro, like that's a little too much for me. I need to be around people. I need to do that. Then that's the route you got to take. But I'm telling you, if you want extreme success, you got to lock in different than everybody else.
So on that road to success, you should describe that come up for us, particularly like going back to LA. How were you received in the industry? What are some of the obstacles that you overcame when you were starting out? They say that like the first few years of the business are the years that are the most vulnerable. And I'm wondering if you could talk us through some of those challenges that you overcame.
Yeah, so you know, man, like our challenge was letting people really believe that this line is going to sell in the stores, that we actually can manufacture goods that's going to sell. So we had to, you know, prove to a lot of people that we were here to stand. So getting our stuff into retailers at first was a little bit difficult, right? So what we did is we just started hustling out of our car. We went to the nightclubs with the jeans in the back of our car. And once dudes on the street started wearing it, it made it a lot easier for the stores to want to bring our stuff in. So when we placed that ad in the magazine, and kids used to call us up, and we was like, okay, where y'all from? They said, Detroit. We like, what stores y'all shop at out there? And then they'll tell us the name of the stores. So we'll get all the phone numbers to the stores. Then anytime a kid would call from Detroit, we say, okay, call DJ Fashions, request Karl Kani. Call this. So all of a sudden, these kids are bombarding the store with phone calls. So the store owner will be like, what is this Karl Kani? I've never heard of it before. Then finally, we'll call like a week later, hey, man, we calling from Karl Kani. You know, we got these new jeans. They, man, all these kids have been cool. Who's giving these kids my number? Let me see what these jeans look like. So, like, you know, we got to get it done one way or the other.
What was your approach to selecting what retailers you were partnering with? Like I've heard some in my research, like you talking about not wanting to go into oversaturation.
Right.
So I wonder if you could speak on that.
Yeah, that's a great question. So what we did was we found the retailers that had some of the best lines that we liked in the store. So if a retailer carried Guess, we use Guess kind of like a little blueprint, because they've been out before us and they were hot back then. So if you carry Guess, then we wanted to be in that store. We wanted that customer that was buying Guess jeans. So we wanted to be next to that brand. So we would just try to find the stores that's carrying better brands, because like you didn't want to oversaturate it, because a lot of times you put too many goods in a certain area, stores might put your stuff on sale, while the other store is not really selling the stuff as well. So that you want to just keep it as more exclusive is much better to have people longevity in this business. Yeah.
You talked about your longevity, and I have a question to that. What do you think are maybe 3 key, very important, crucial things that you think have allowed your business to last as long as it has and be as successful as it has been continuously?
Yeah, so I feel like one of the main things to me is always thinking towards future and staying focused on the next direction for your brand. I think that's very, very important. You stay tuned to the streets and what fashion trends are happening and stay ahead of the game, because for us, when things started slowing down for us in the USA market, we started looking more towards the international market, right? So like we could have looked at the USA market like, oh man, things are not going that well for us, but no, when one door shut, many more opens for us. So we started looking towards international. So once we went over there international, we followed the trends of hip hop. We realized how important and how big hip hop was internationally. We knew once they was playing hip hop music there, our clothes are gonna sell. You know what I'm saying? Our clothing is tied into hip hop. So we knew if these kids listen to hip hop in Sweden, they're gonna want the style of clothing hip hop artists are wearing as well too. So right now our business is 10 times bigger in Europe than it is here in the USA market. It's nothing but white kids and different nationalities wearing our brands over there too, but still the power of hip hop is what transformed the brand to be international.
That's something I wasn't aware of until preparing for this visit, because I was a teenager in the early 90s, and I remember what it was like when someone came to school with Karl Kani on. I remember the energy and like, yo, I need that. My mother couldn't afford it, but I was telling you earlier, I had one particular Christmas where I got Karl Kani a jacket and some jeans, and I could not wait to go back to school with my fit on. And so as I'm thinking about like this idea of longevity and how you've been able to take your brand internationally, and you gave the stats earlier, I think you mentioned 25 countries and more than a dozen stores in Japan alone. What are some of the ups and downs in building a team to be able to scale your vision?
Yes, it's a very good question, very important. So for Japan, for instance, a lot of USA companies fail in Japan because Japanese have their own sense of style, and a lot of companies go there and try to push the American style in Japan, and it tends not to work. So we hired and linked up with a company called Mitsubishi in Japan who understood the Japanese market, understood the Japanese currency, the language, and stuff like that, and became partners with them for the Japanese market to ensure we will be successful in Japan. Took a lot of risk factor away from us and put the burden on them. And for Europe, you gotta understand, we have 25 foreign countries. There's different languages, different currencies, different ways of thinking, but the one common goal, the one common denominator, all of them is hip hop. And with that, we hired people in Germany that speaks the German language, hired people in Switzerland that speak that language, hired people in France that speaks French. So now we have an international team who can now promote the Karl Kani brand in those countries the way how it sees fit. And each country is slightly different, but again, hip hop still is a cornerstone of success for all those countries for us as a company.
A lot of times entrepreneurs struggle with not trying to do everything themselves. And so like, what was that process for you to release responsibility, to trust people, and ultimately allow folks to get the feedback they need to actually carry out what you visualize?
Yeah, so trust factor is very important, and building a good team is also very important. And sometimes you're gonna make the right decision, sometimes you won't, but everything's subject to change. You know what I'm saying? But the key is you have to be the conductor of your ship and watch each operation the way it's going and make sure it's going successful and know when to pull the trigger if it ain't going right. Like you got to get them a scale and they got to hit certain power points. If they don't meet those numbers, you got to make some changes. That's the way business is ran. It's like it ain't no friends in business when it comes to especially international level, because that's how a lot of companies fail.
Running it back a little bit, going back to your earlier days in Brooklyn and even LA, what were some of the ways that you were designing with black people in mind, knowing that where you were, where a lot of your clothes were going to, it was going to be worn by youth like us?
Yeah. So, like I said, every time I was designing for me and my friends. So I made people like what we like. You know what I'm saying? Like, there wasn't no designers we looked at to say, we want to copy their stuff. We had our own rhythm that we wanted. We knew what type of colors we wanted, the type of fits we wanted, and everything like that. So once I had my customer and my friends in mind, that's what helped me design my clothing to where it needed to be. So it wasn't like we were trying to design for another nationality. It was designing for us, and that's what made it so cool and unique, because there's nobody that ever did it like that with that mentality before we started doing that.
Brother, you are truly a legend. I think one day the young people here are going to look back on this experience and cherish the opportunity they had. Maybe wish they might have even leaned into the opportunity a bit more. But you know how our young people are. They learning, they growing. The idea that you've been able to generate, I think I read between 50, 75 on average $1 million per year, every year for 34 years. And that isn't even really your goal. That's a byproduct of you being locked in and focused on creating this legacy of what can be done. And then sharing that legacy with your community, with your people, with our people. It's inspiring. It's deeply inspiring in every sense of the word. So we thank you, brother, for pulling up on Ember. I hope you'll consider this an extension of your home
Absolutely.
when you're in Brooklyn.
Yes, sir.
We got some great things going on here, and this is a huge historic moment for us as well. Before we wrap, from the audience, we got any questions? We got anybody who want to holler at the brother? Why don't you come talk to the mic, Kamani?
You know, I would love to know, you know, where's the energy at? You know, we from Brooklyn, we repping big Brooklyn. Like, where's the energy at? You know, like, where's everything? I just want to know, like.
You talking to us?
Yes, I'm talking to you. I'm talking to the audience.
Okay.
I'm talking to Mr. Karl Kani himself. You know. I was actually looking through. Oh, pardon me. I was actually looking through the website. You know, as this was ongoing. And, you know, like from like a, how do I say this? From like a younger perspective, I don't know if this would like be like offensive, but like from a younger perspective, I really love the products. I like how modernized it is. You know, it's like, it gives off minimalist. Like, I really like that. And I would definitely wear it, you know, I just gotta like, you know, I would definitely wear it. Hashtag Karl Kani, hashtag Brooklyn.
There you go.
Word. Alika, just hit the mic.
What's up?
Right after.
All right. This wasn't going to be my first question, but piggybacking off what she said, I noticed that some of your designs are minimalist. Do you ever run into, like, creative blocks when you're creating minimalist designs? Because, like, I'm not going to say that I'm not the type of person to wear a piece of clothing with, like, a lot of stuff on it. Right. But, like, as wanting to become a fashion designer, like, I want to be more of a minimalist person. So, like, do you ever run into creative blocks?
You know, sometimes the hardest thing to do is something minimal. You know what I'm saying? It's really, sometimes it's easy to do some little big logos on it, just smack a big logo on it, and
because
it's done.
Especially with that, like, you got brands like, I wear Polo, you got brands like Polo, Nike, they got all these different pieces of clothing. They just stamp the logo on it and they sell out. Like, it's probably, you know, hard to come up doing the same thing when all these big brands, like, why buy this when you could buy that? So
Yeah. So that's why, like, your brand has to have, like, a feeling and an emotion to it. It's emotional connection to your brand, whether it's through your advertising, through your photographs, through your website. So there has to be another reason why people want to buy your logo and your name, whether it's through those types of marketing, through Instagram, Facebook, and things like that. And designs will sell. I always try to stay away from too many fashion pieces because fashion trends change a lot. And if you could establish something basic, it's something that could be around for a long time. So that's one of the hardest things to do in this business. And that's one thing that's really helped us, if we were able to establish Karl Kani jeans basics and t-shirt basics and things like that. So that's definitely something you should implement in your collection no matter what you do, for sure.
All right, another question I have. Knowing how different the world is now, I know that when you was coming up, it was much tougher. But, like, say if the roles were reversed, if you were in my shoes instead, like, how would you have, like, I'm pretty sure over the years you've, you know, adapted to the times. I know you probably have different marketing strategies now than you did back then. How would you have started out now if you were in my shoes?
With the world being the way it is right now? So first thing I would do for sure is I would build up my Instagram and make my Instagram really focus on my fashion only. Like, I wouldn't combine personal things. I wouldn't have a picture of my dog and then have a picture of my shirt next to it. If I want to run a business on my Instagram, I want to have it totally focused on my collection, my business. And I would start off doing clean, timeless photos, black and white, something that's timeless, that will be around for a long time. Separate yourself from everybody and just be really simple with your designs and focus more on your logo and your trademark and brand building. I would watch every top company that I respect, and I would do a mood board with them. I'll have them on the wall, and I would look at them every day and ask myself, what is it about these companies that I like, and take something from them, take a little idea from here, and mix it all up and create my own little blueprint of what I want to do. But there's nothing wrong to seeing what everybody else is doing and taking little things from there. So at least you can have a blueprint of how you want to conduct your brand. And I want to see, what are they doing that's right? What is this company doing right? And see if there's something common between companies that are out there, and you could take whatever's common and apply that to your brand as well.
All right, given that you were, well, I'm not sure how accurate it is, but given that you were the first streetwear brand coming up, were there any, like what were your inspirations, I guess, because if you were the first, then I'm guessing there weren't many that you saw? Like, what made you like at least get the idea to like be that streetwear brand?
Yeah, you know, when I first started, I didn't know and realize how big we're going to get. I was just trying to make some money, to be honest with you, and everything just kind of happened as it was going along. So we just worked really hard every day, and things have started to fall into our laps the way it's supposed to be. But no one wants to get on a train that's not moving. Like, you know, our first break came, we got connected with the company Cross Colors, right? The only reason why he invested in my company is because they saw we already had everything going already. We was making our own jeans, we were doing this, we were doing that. So all we needed was the finance behind us. Like, if I would have went to him and said, yo, you know, I got this idea, I want to
When you were like growing up, I like at least little. Like me personally, fashion wasn't like at least the first form of art that I was necessarily interested in. When I was like little, I used to draw. Then I leaned more into graphic design when I met Pro, and then somehow I just whittled my way into fashion. Cause like I was listening to your story, like I work, and I'm working because like I like buying clothes, I like dressing nice, and my love for fashion at least came from that. So like, what were your like, what forms of art did you engage in growing up?
I didn't engage in any art, just working. I was either delivering being a messenger in Manhattan, working for the Board of Education, delivering circulars on the weekend, delivering newspapers, packing bags at the grocery store, so whatever it took. So my whole thing was just getting money to get clothing, and it's like, sometimes, you know, they say destiny's calling your line, you gotta pick up the call. So this thing called fashion has been calling my phone all the time, and I picked up that call, and that's when I found this is where I need to be.
Okay. I just had the question my fault.
Yeah, can I just pause right there? I think that's such a really profound point that you just made, Carl. As a mother to two 20-somethings who have all these ideas about what they want to do, I think a lot of times young people nowadays think, I have to do that thing and that thing only, and if it's not that, there's no honor in it. But hearing you say, like, I had this vision and this dream to do this, but in the meantime, I was a messenger, I was bagging grocery, I was doing whatever I needed to do to build the capital to one day make this dream happen. I think that's such an point that I don't want to get lost in this room, because it's fine to have your dream and to be hustling towards that, but then there's also honor in doing the practical thing to help you get there as well. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I just feel like, you know, you got to keep all options open. You know what I'm saying? Once it's bringing you towards success, you know, your goals can change. It's called adjustments. Those things can happen. But you got to be open-minded. Always try to find something positive, what's coming your way. Don't be negative. Don't shut it down before you even try to give an idea of mind to manifest first.
Okay. My name was Malachi Cassis. And also, what are your like team meetings like?
Yeah, so our team meetings, normally we talk about hip hop first and artists, like who's hot, who's new, what artists do we need to be looking at right now? Because, you know, how do we need to market our product? You know what I'm saying? We think about colors. We talk about what new sneakers are coming out to make sure we have some clothing that ties back with the sneakers sometime, right? We find sometimes when we on point with our colors and it's matched up to new latest sneakers, the clothing tends to sell a lot more, right? So we're thinking about expansion of the brand, sales, marketing, design, and just really brand development, really, and seeing what new acquisitions we could bring into the company as well. Like, you know, we just started a new footwear line in Europe right now, which we're bringing to the U.S. And right now we're working on spring of 2024 right now, so we're like a year in advance and thinking of what kids are going to wear next year, this time. So it's a lot of advanced research and marketing ideas and stuff like that. That's mostly what we meet about. We meet like twice a month to kind of go over these concepts and see what's trending. Thank you, brother. What's up, man? How you doing?
So I want to ask you, how do you stay true to yourself in an industry where people sell out? Like, how do you like stay authentic?
Yeah, so, you know, I think definitely coming from Brooklyn helps a lot. because we was always very well grounded coming from here. And like I said, failure is not an option in our book, so we're gonna hustle hard no matter what. And we're never gonna come back to New York not being successful. And that's the way it's written. And we want to do whatever it takes and work that much harder to continue the machine going.
Because one thing I did notice about your character, especially when first meeting you, I peeped that like you're very humble. Like I wouldn't see like a fashion designer like Rick Owen. I wouldn't see him come back to his city and do something like that. I ain't gonna lie.
Right.
So I respect you for that. Another question is, how is fabric and material quality important to standing out with clothing and marketing?
Yeah, so fabrics, it's, you could look at a T-shirt, right? And there's different levels of a jersey that you could buy. You could buy a jersey that's $2 a yard, or you could buy a jersey that's $12 a yard. Now, obviously, the $12 a yard jersey is probably gonna have more weight to it and more stability to it. So you gotta find that balance in your collection, what type of price points you wanna have. We tend to always want to stay on a more higher quality price point because
High fashion.
Yeah, high fashion, because like right now you don't see a lot of vintage Karl Kani on eBay or even in thrift shops because people hold on to it. People normally, you find stuff in thrift shops people don't want. So it's really hard to find any Karl Kani from the 90s because we only use the heaviest quality fleece and jerseys that we were using back then because everybody wanted the heavyweight stuff and we were on top of our game with that.
What is the key strategy to having longevity in an industry like this?
I think staying true to the streets, staying true to your brand identity, and not shifting towards fashion trends too much. You gotta stay true to who you are as a brand. And certain trends, you just gonna miss the boat on that. And that's why it's important that you have those basics. So even though if trends start to having basics never go out of style. Yeah. Thank you, man.
Go ahead.
So I had, listened closely to what Brother Josiah was asking you and how he had mentioned that he noticed that you're very humble. How do you actually stay humble? Because I'm not gonna lie, if I had a clothing brand and it was number one in Germany, I would have been walking around, like I'm hot,
Yeah.
How do you stay humble? How do you actually
Yeah, stay self-centered.
yes.
Yeah, I think that it all depends on what your initial goals were. If your initial goals is to get all the hype and to be like that, then it may not be something that's gonna have longevity to it. I feel like you always gotta stay calm and patient through everything. Let everything come to you, come your way. And once you're locked in and you focus, you're gonna find that life just has a way of just draining the way that you want it to go. So I feel like being braggadocious and being all that, I never really liked people like that. And I remember when I first went to LA, I used to try to get my stuff on some black celebrities before we got started. And I remember Eddie Murphy in particular, we saw him in a club and we was like, oh shit, it's Eddie Murphy. Let's try to get my clothes on him. And he had his bodyguard stop us before he got to his table. And he's like, nah, he was very standoffish with us, stuff like that. And I was like, man, if I ever get on, I'm never gonna be like those dudes right there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, it's one thing to actually have pride in yourself and be confident in your work, but then it's another thing to forget kind of where you came from and
Yeah.
stuff, because people aren't realizing that they also came from the bottom. We all had to work our way up to the top.
Right.
Yeah, it was really nice meeting you, and I feel like everybody here, everybody listening should get y'all some Carl Kani because I'm definitely ordering.
What's your name?
Oh, my name is Karmani.
All right, come.
My name's Karmani.
Thank you, Kamani.
Nice meeting you.
You're very welcome.
Man, it's no logical conclusion to this. I think we got one more question in the back. You're gonna have to
Yeah.
pull up or speak real loud and clear, Sister for these.
And then maybe after that we can do the quick rapid fire.
Okay.
Okay, so I want to know this personally because it's been with teenagers, it's been a real drawback. So mentally,
It's been a what? Very
in teenagers these days, as young people, a real drawback is anxiety and mental health.
Yes.
So I want to know how you dealt with it, if you've ever had a mental drawback or anxiety. So how have you dealt with it during the industry?
So I don't, mental drawback and anxiety. I don't know if what I have is anxiety sometimes. Like my thing sometimes, like when I want something, like I just can't stop thinking about what I want, and that may cause some anxiety. But I don't know any other way to do it. When I want something, I'm just gonna get it. So if any anxiety is my strong will to accomplish a certain goal or something like that, I would say. And in terms of mental illness, I don't feel like I've ever really experienced that too much. You know, like I said, the only times I just probably push myself, probably on overdrive, but that's what's gotten me to this point, and it's fine, just part of the game right now.
So you take your drawback and turn it into your power.
My drive,
I guess?
exactly.
Yeah.
And there's really no other way to look at it. And even if I thought that I had any type of mental ill, I would not say those words out my mouth, because it doesn't exist. Like, to me, don't bring that into existence. You know what I'm saying? Like, because it's not that. Sometimes that's a way of people just come up with something as the reason why, or this or that. You know what I'm saying? If you wake up every morning and you're able to walk and talk and breathe and look and smell, you should be able to do what you gotta do. You know what I'm saying? Like, forget all that, because everybody has their own sort of issues. I'm trying to say, like, so I'm not gonna compile and make up issues that I don't know if I have or don't have, and if I don't, I'm gonna work through it and make sure that I'm outwill this certain situations happening to me right now.
Okay, that's it.
How do you feel about it? Do you feel you have anxiety?
I don't know, cause there's just, I overthink a lot, and like, I feel like school and family is two different lives, and it's hard, to work with two. But after hearing you, I think that it is true. Like, you can't just make up things and stuff like that. But if you take that will that you have to overthink yourself, then you can definitely turn it into.
Absolutely. Stay focused on your goals. Like, and again, you should have like a vision board and a game plan of life of what you want to do. And like, once you start accomplishing goals, your confidence is gonna start building. You're gonna see that what you thought was a problem is not even a problem. But you gotta like have miniature goals and start accomplishing those things. And then you'll see success start to come your way. You know what I'm saying? And never give up on yourself.
Thank you.
Because you are a black queen. You gotta remember that.
I'm Dominican.
Oh, Dominican. Good. You're a Dominican queen. Remember that.
All right. So, the end. We this is the first like official Ember podcast. So thank you for being our first guest. So in honor of our senior class who's been in and out taking their class photos, wanted just to do a rundown of some superlatives. All right. So, old Brooklyn question: what should the price of a bacon, egg, and cheese be?
$1.95.
Hurts my heart. $1.95.
Is that too much?
No. It's
Nah.
like $5.
Oh, $5? Wow. Okay.
It's $5 in there. Yeah, no. Down the street, it's like $7. It's crazy.
Okay.
Who was your best teacher in high school?
Sister Captain Marie.
What was so great about her?
She was a black nun. And the only one in the school.
The only one.
Yeah.
I was wondering if there were any
and
sisters.
she
with
took
sisters.
she took a liking to me too.
That's what's up. What's the best advice you've ever received?
The best advice I ever received is if you can't see it, you can't be it.
Who'd you receive it from?
I received that from an accountant that we were working with at a time, and we were talking about taxes and stuff like that, and I was telling him about some issues I was having, and he asked me, what's your goals and where do you want to accomplish? And I couldn't answer that question at the time. He says, how can you get to where you're going if you don't know where you want to be? So have a goal, and then once you have a goal, then you have a game plan how to get to that goal.
What's the best advice you've ever ignored?
The best advice I've ever ignored?
Yeah.
Let me see. The best advice, well, my mother told me don't go back to LA after the store got robbed. I didn't listen to her on that one though. So,
What's the best advice you've ever given?
I would probably say to my son when he was playing baseball, and he was kind of unsure of himself, and I had to remind him how good he was, and I had to remind him that competition and adversity in life sometimes is good for you. And he took that information and he played lights out, and that's how I was able to get a scholarship at University of Washington, for baseball. And baseball to me was a good journey for me. It taught you about what failure is about. And life is about being able to fail and get back up tomorrow and do it all over again and have the same energy to succeed. So I feel like that was some good advice that he took, and it worked well for him.
Last one. What's your daily affirmation?
My daily affirmation is that, my physical, my mental goes well together, and I'm not going to let anybody be in better physical shape than me. And business is warfare, and you got to be ready mentally and physically to go out there and attack on a daily basis.
Respect.
Let's give it up for our brother Karl Kani once again.